Welcome to Stories of Becoming, a new podcast from Reconciling Ministries Network. We believe the story of our church, and indeed the story for all of us, is still being written. This is a space for honest, hopeful conversations about faith, about inclusion, and about the deep, deep conviction that God's love is always making things new.
Each episode shares stories from people who are shaping a more inclusive church.
The movement we dreamed of is here, and now the work begins. I'm Julia Buckner with Reconciling Ministries Network, and this is Stories of Becoming. Each episode, we're going to share conversations of courage, of faith, and inclusion, real stories of people and churches still being made new by God's love.
Derrick Scott III, and together, we're stepping into this new season with a bold question. What does it look like to build the inclusive church we've been fighting for, not someday, but right now?
All right, Derrick, thanks for joining me on this bonus episode. The vote that we had, the historic vote to get rid of the harmful language, that was 1 year ago. And so 1 year after General Conference, why this podcast and why now? Why are we still talking about these things?
Julia, I think there's so many reasons for this podcast right now. I think one, we've got to celebrate the wins. We've got to celebrate where we've been and those who have come before us to make this moment possible. But I also think that we've got to name the fact that there is so much more to be done. Yes, we have made progress, but we now need to look ahead to the work that is on the ground, the work that is about bringing inclusion to congregations and districts and annual conferences even. So yes, we have work to do, and we want to celebrate all the progress we've made.
Absolutely. We did cross the threshold, but we know that inclusion doesn't implement itself. It's built congregation by congregation. And the truth is, this is where the real work begins. You have to live inclusion. You have to practice inclusion. It has to be embodied in your very soul.
And that's why this series matters so much, Julia. We've got to name that the real work has now begun. We've got to point the direction so that we can all be about it. So yes, we've got stories of celebrations, but those celebrations are giving us the blueprint for what's next.
Absolutely. Over the next few weeks, we'll hear from pastors and activists and lay leaders who have helped to shape our movement. And we're also going to hear from those who are carrying it forward in very new and creative ways.
Each conversation lifts up stories of courage, resilience, and faith. Moments when people chose love over fear, justice over comfort, and community over exclusion.
That's right. You're going to hear from, folks who are on the journey, reflections from those who did the work before we came, and honest stories about what it means to rebuild trust and glimpses of the Spirit moving in ways that we couldn't have imagined. From local churches to global connections, this is indeed a season of renewal and rebirth.
So we'd love for you to join us on this journey. Go ahead and subscribe on YouTube or Spotify and share this episode with your community. Join us in being a part of what's next.
And if you're moved by what you hear, help us keep it going. Your listening and your giving keep this movement in motion. This is Stories of Becoming, conversations of courage, faith, and a church still being made new.
Stories of Becoming is a production of Reconciling Ministries Network, a community of United Methodists working to make full inclusion a lived reality in every congregation.
To learn more or support the movement, visit rmnetwork.org/donate. Thanks for listening, and thanks for helping us keep the fire of inclusion burning bright.